Welcome back to another episode of the Experts in Fire podcast. I'm your host, Mike Vennard, and with me today is Randy Mowry. Today's episode is Extend Your Patio Season with Patio Heaters. Let's get into it. Hey, Randy, how you doing, man?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you today, Mike?
I'm fantastic as well, brother. It's a beautiful day.
It is. It's really nice outside.
It's been monsoon season here in Michigan. They have had flash floods. We got guys at Woodland that have, I think their basements have flooded 3 times now.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah, out in the Dearborn area and different places. So yeah, it's to me, I don't mow the lawn this much in the month of July.
Right.
And I don't know if I'm frustrated or happy because my mower is my happy place, right? I get on my X-Mark and I ride my 1.5 acres and I just smile the whole time I'm doing it. But I don't necessarily like doing it every 3 days.
Right, exactly. Definitely grass is growing like a weed. I know that. That's for darn sure.
Yep. And I always like to give everybody a little taste of pure Michigan. So, Randy, you know what? When this drops, it's going to be September. And so we chose to, talk to everybody about extending their patio season with patio heaters. And it's always I think I have some of the worst withdrawal when September, October come, right? I'm an old football coach. I coached football for 20 years. And so when the fall comes, it's like I used to have that, okay, cool weather's here. Rawr, it's time to get into football, right?
Right, yeah.
But we need to push forward because it's still a great time to spend out on the patio. So, I just wanted to guide our discussion today in terms of, I'm sure that folks are going to be sitting there going, man, let's get some patio heaters and let's warm it up out here and let's just enjoy being outside as long as we can, especially up here in the Northland. For those of you who live down south, God bless you. That's all I can say. When I go to Florida in the middle of the winter and you're all wearing jackets and I'm in shorts and t-shirt, God bless you. There are some things that folks need to know. There are options to patio heaters, how you're going to power them. One is gas and one is electric, right? And then you also have options for patio heaters in terms of putting in permanent heaters that you hang from above or having portable heaters. I know there was a huge shortage on portable heaters last year. We've got a bunch of them in the warehouse now, and so do a lot of our partners. So, Randy, I just, if I'm a customer whose wife just told him I'm cold out here, or is already thinking ahead saying, yep, I know it's coming. She's going to get chilly. I'm going to get chilly too. Let's admit it. Even us guys get chilly in that fall kind of time. What are some things that they're going to need to know? And I know you walk through an entire process with your clients on the phone, so I just wanted to share with our listeners what they should be thinking about in discovering a project with one of their clients, because there are certainly things they need to know.
No, and it's a great question. It's very common, especially right now, everybody getting planned, like you said, everybody building these outdoor seating areas and these patio areas and screened in porches. And that's really where it begins. My initial question is, Mike, tell me a little bit about the patio. Is it a 4 seasons room, meaning it's going to have screens and some type of window to kind of help break that chill in the space? Or is it open on one side, open on 2 sides? And that's where the conversation starts, because that determines really what type of heater is going to be available, meaning electric or gas for the application.
So walls, and whether it's an enclosed space or an open space, are actually going to determine which option I get to use for gas and electric.
Correct, which is going to be the best suit. Because think of a 4 seasons room, for example. In Michigan, we use the term 4 seasons rooms. We have screens, so we have our house wall, and then we have 3 adjacent sides, or possibly 2 if it's an L shape for the house. And then those 2 walls maybe have screens for the summertime, and in the wintertime, we close these storm windows. It's basically glass windows. So in a space like that, now we've turned this into more of a internal confined space We don't want to use a gas patio heater in that space. It'd be just like putting it inside your house. It's going to create carbon monoxide, and you don't want that in that confined space. So in a space like that, so a 4-season space that is just built, an electric patio heater is going to be the best application for that space. Then it comes down to some other further questions for, tell me about the space. What size is it? What is our ceiling height? Because then that's going to determine the wattage. Patio heaters go from 1,500 watts all the way to 6,000 watts. And so, we don't want to put something that's too big. We obviously don't want something that's too small in the space either. Because with the electric heaters, Mike, what's really nice about the electric heaters is they're infrared heaters. So they're object heaters. We're heating objects in that space.
So it sounds like we need to go into an entire lesson on infrared heat. And the best example that I can give is it's similar to being outside on a beautiful sunny day like today, and you're standing in the sun and you're hot, and you can feel your skin starting to burn. So what you do is you step under a tree. The temperature hasn't changed. It's still 85 degrees, but because you no longer have the sun beating down on you and heating you, it's the tree is protecting you from that. It's cooler. It feels cooler. So what you're saying is these patio heaters are infrared heat, which means if you sit underneath them, they're going to heat whatever they're pointing at, versus a wood stove that you would throw wood into and it would radiate heat and heat the air and space all together. Am I saying that accurately?
That's absolutely correct. And that's the example that I use. We're not heating the space, the air itself. We're heating the objects within inside the space. So when you're looking to extend that patio season, it is all about making sure we choose the right heater. Of course, we just touched on a 4 seasons room. Now, there are other obviously different patios that are out there that are just open. So for example, my patio is wide open. There is no roof on it. There's no sidewalls on it. It's just 20 feet straight off the back of the house deck. In an application like that, you could certainly use some type of wall-mounted gas unit. That's perfect for like a gas unit. Or if that same space, Mike, has a roof on it, but it is still open on 3 sides, you could hang a gas heater. The heaters have their own application based on the client's patio and how it is built and structured. The most important thing, because we do get a lot of calls for gas, and gas heaters are great. They do produce a lot of that heat off of them, but they do have some limitations. For the most part, a lot of them are going to have anywhere from, depending on the models, 25 to 30% of open space. Like we talked about a 4 seasons room, Mike. Now, if we have that same space that has no glass on it and has the appropriate ceiling height and has one open area, so we have essentially 3 walls and one of them screened in. If we have 30% of that space that is open to the outside air, nothing impeding its flow of air, then we could use a gas in that application. There's a lot to think about when you're looking to extend that patio area, but those are the kind of things that we're going to talk about and ask our clients about, so that we make sure that not only that they're safe, but it's going to function and do what they want to do in that space, so they can actually, maybe they're used to going in by like end of September, 1st of October, and maybe we can get them out there. They can enjoy it till November.
Right. You bring up another point in that discussion. It's certainly, just because you have a gas line there doesn't mean you can use gas.
Correct.
Right?
Absolutely.
And one of the things we've talked about in other episodes as well, when it comes to fire pits and things of that nature, if your intention is to close things off, then set it up right and don't use gas. It's a carbon monoxide thing. It's, we hear it almost every year. Storms come through, or winter will knock out power somewhere, and somebody starts a generator in their home. And I think it was just last year that an entire family passed away from carbon monoxide poisoning. They're trying to keep warm. I get it. But carbon monoxide is a killer. So if you're going to enclose, gas isn't the answer, whether you have a gas line there or not, right? But the next thing, once we determine, can I use gas? Can I use electric? Which should I use? And I know you do an excellent job, Randy, of just walking through discovery with them to find out what their intentions are. And most clients are not sure. They're just, and especially our professional clients that you deal with a lot, they're dealing with clients who are telling them, no, I have a gas line right there, I want gas. Then that changes everything, right? And we help arm them with the information so that they can go in and help the client understand. But once we get past that, now how many heaters does someone need? Because just like you said, this is going to heat objects underneath it. So if you have a 20 by 20 space, when you think about that thing hanging from above, it's only going to heat the objects that it's pointing at. And I want to make sure our listeners are able to kind of comprehend that as well. Do you have some charts or something? What do you work through with them there?
So we definitely will work out the square footage because that's one of the most important things. It comes down to how many, aesthetically and installation wise. There may only be specific areas that they can mount them at, and it's going to determine the ceiling height as well. A ceiling height at 8 feet versus a ceiling height at 12 feet is also going to allocate a different wattage of a heater. Okay. And then as we, alluded to, they're infrared, so we're heating the objects. And one of the things that I like to, explain to folks is because we're heating objects, if you have a 20 by 20 footprint, let's say you have a fireplace on one end, heating that area, what type of fireplace did you put in? Is it going to generate heat or is it just for ambiance type of thing? We want to put the heaters where people are going to be sitting, congregating, and talking. I'll give you an example. I'm working on one right now. The gentleman it's about a 24 by 24, a little bit bigger. And on one end of it, he has his L-shaped barbecue grill. He goes, I don't care about heat over there. I'm just grilling. This is the only area I want to focus on. So now that changes. We're only worried about half of that footprint. And on average, like a 6,000 watt heater is going to cover, about 11 foot by 11 foot. Now we start to get into, okay, if we want to cover every square inch of that area, then maybe we want to put 2 there. Mounting is always a question. Where are we going to mount them at? The placement. Because all of these things factor into the overall size of the heater and how many we're going to have. If somebody's footprint only allows for them to be mounted in the ceiling, of course, you'll be limited. Maybe you're only going to put 2. So there's definitely a lot of variables, a lot of different questions to ask and answer to be able to do a proper layout for somebody to make sure that it's going to cover and do what they want to do. When you're doing restaurants, that's a little bit different because we want, they're looking to cover as much square footage as possible and they want them like minimum hanging as they can get them. So a little bit different than when you're working with a porch.
You have fire-related questions and we have answers. You can email us your questions at podcast@woodlanddirect.com or give us a call at 586-221-3638. We would love to be able to answer them right here on the Experts in Fire podcast. We have clients, and I'm sure our pros who are listening in have clients as well who they want heat. They're not super particular on the heat. Some of them may even be looking at it going, boy, I'd like to have a seating section over here where folks can sit and have the warmth of some patio heaters there. But even for me, sitting under a patio or during COVID, going to places that were open outdoors and had heaters, I discovered my bald head just doesn't like sitting under a heater.
Right.
I feel like a chicken in an incubator or something. So back when I was selling, I had a gentleman from North Dakota, from the Fargo area, and he says, Mike, I'm in North Dakota. I'm like, been there, and he's like, well, I want some heaters that are going to allow me to come outside in the winter and keep warm. And I said, well, we got heaters, I talked to him about infrared heat, all that good stuff. He said, good. So it'll feel like 70 on my patio And I'm like, brother, you live in North Dakota. No, there's nothing that's gonna.
Does it hit 70 at all?
Let's just talk specifically about the portable units. In terms of, I mean, they're gas. That they're going to be gas, right?
Yeah, great point, because they're either going to be, it's going to be like typically like a propane hidden tank version, a tank inside of it. And using our Four Seasons room or enclosed space scenario, that is something that you really have to be cautious about, because they're still gas. It's going to do the same thing as any kind of like hanging unit we were chatting about. But more importantly, with a portable unit is they have a certain clearances that have to be met. So if you have a simple 8-foot ceiling, a lot of these portable units require anywhere from 2 to 3 feet of clearance above them. So if you don't have that clearance just above it, and then in a lot of cases, they may require 10 feet of surrounding area of clearance, what they call to combustibles around the heat. Because what those do is they heat up, they hit that dome, that mushroom style dome, and then it directs that heat down. These could be very dangerous in a confined space if it doesn't have any of the clearances that need to be met for that unit. They're really designed to be used in an open space, super tall ceilings for any type of portable unit.
Yeah, and I'm thinking in terms of a lot of times folks think, hey, I can just wheel this thing around, wheel it anywhere. There are safety switches on those units, so if they do tip over or tilt, they're going to shut themselves off. There's just a level of awareness you need to have when you're using those. And we saw a lot of them move out the door last year. We saw a lot of, and we're going to see a lot of them move out the door this fall as well, as patio heater season really starts to kick off here. And one of the nice things is you can bring it out onto the patio. You can leave it there. You can cover it, and then you can put it away like your patio furniture. There are things you need to know about them. That was one of the questions I was going to ask you as well, Randy. If I'm going to, because I have a portable unit, and it does the trick, but I don't have anything up overhead to put permanents on. So I use the portable when my wife is looking at me saying, hey, I'm kind of chilly and we're enjoying the evening, right? So I'll put that bad boy away during the winter months here in Michigan. Do I need to do anything with patio heaters that are hanging up above, permanent heaters that I've put in place, if I live in an area that's salty or an area that's snowy?
Yeah, that's a good question. From a maintenance standpoint, each manufacturer is going to have their own guideline for maintenance. The biggest thing in a lot of the we'll call it the spring and summer, is that pollen builds up on those things. And a lot of the manufacturers will mention just dry dusting off the screens and the elements when you're not using them at this, just seasonal things like that. It just to help the longevity, so it's not heating up any of that stuff. Other than that, the manufacturer's maintenance, there's really not much that you have to do to it, especially the electrical, the units. Gas units are a little bit different because some people will shut their gas supply down and then turn their gas back on. And then those may have some type of pilot on them. So maybe a little bit more involved when it comes to an annual maintenance, we'll call it. And that's usually like a pre-season before you start using it, similar to a fire pit, kind of going through the pre-season checklist, so to speak, on just making sure everything's cleaned off, that nothing's crawled in there beyond, and it's sitting on the ceramic element where the heat's going to come out because you have the gas. So it's like a flame inside of there. So a little bit more detailed there, but I always recommend that people keep their manuals handy so they can do their pre-season checklist on any of their gas appliances like that and get those things prepped before they start using them. And the same thing with the stand-up ones. Make sure nobody's made a home in there before you fire that thing up, because same thing, it's going to have an open flame inside that thing. So take the dome off, get that head off, so you can get to where the fire element is, and just take a look at it, make sure everything's in good shape before you just fire it up.
Absolutely. Maintenance and startup, always, always, always super valuable, super important. And then keep in mind, just because it's portable doesn't mean you can run it inside.
No, definitely not. Like you said, Mike, the scenario that you use your portable in, or I could use mine on the open patio. They work fantastic in the correct application. You wouldn't bring your generator inside your house if you lose your power, because it's going to create that. You don't want to do the same thing with a portable patio and put it inside your house. And one of the other things, I know we didn't really touch on it, I just wanted to bring it up to folks, is if folks are planning their patios, we want to extend that patio season. When it comes to wherever application is going to work best for you, electrical needs, because both electric and gas are going to require some type of electricity. Your gas ones are going to be typically like 110 volts with a 24 volt transformer, easy for the electrician. Electric patio heaters, on the other hand, are 240 volt. So it's a completely different power source out there than just your standard 110 plug-in that you have outside your door wall. Just to touch on and let folks know, because there's a lot of pre-planning for the electrician and some leaning on the electrician for your quotes and things like that. You want to make sure that you have the right information for them of what it's going to require to power your systems out there as well.
We sit and talk about this stuff every time we sit down and record these. There are just a lot of things to consider before you start a project like this, and that's what we want to do. We want to try and help folks. It's the proverbial, hey, I can do that in half a day kind of DIYer attitude, right? That's not hard. I could do that, and it's 14 trips to a hardware store, and all of a sudden you're on the phone with a plumber and an electrician to. We want to help everyone be able to set this thing up properly as they're walking through their own discovery process of what they'd like to do in their backyard and how they'd like to do it. It's just a little bit more information for them to be able to say, oh, I need to be aware of. So I hope everybody gleans something from this. If you have some questions or comments or just need more information, always feel free to call us, and our number is plastered everywhere on the site. You can call, you can talk to one of our master hearth professionals. They'll walk you through. You can call and talk to Randy himself, because I know he does this out of the kindness of his heart and logs in to the phones when we're all done recording these things. So Randy, really appreciate you, brother. It's always fun doing this, man.
I appreciate you. Yeah, this is great. I love it.
Like I said, if there's something that you'd like to hear about, or a question that kind of popped into your head while we were talking, please don't hesitate to reach out to us, get it to us, and we'd love to sit and have a conversation like we always do, with our cups of coffee in hand, and Randy wearing his Detroit, Michigan shirt, and answer all your questions. So until next time, we appreciate all you do. And I think Justin has a recording that's going to say what I normally say here, so I don't have to try and remember it right now.
Let's see, I'll do it again.
Join us next week for the differences in gas fire pit burners and their benefits. We'll see you then.